Is Wizard101 getting more pay to win? This is a question that, believe it or not, I actually get asked a lot. New players that are returning after a while, and I'm not surprised that this question is being asked. There's a lot of things that Wizard101 has done recently, and they've been acquired by a whole new company. It's a standard ass question to ask. So today, I wanted to break down what I felt was an interesting pattern in terms of what it seems to me that they're doing, and also some things that have bothered me as just a player like anybody else that plays this game, consumes this content. If you guys have been following their updates for even just the past month, there's been all kinds of things that they've added to the point where there are a lot of ways to pay to progress. Now, paying to progress is not the same as pay to win, and we will address the pay to win question, but there are many new examples of paying to progress in this game that exist today that didn't even exist a few months ago. And I would argue that a lot of these things form a pattern, right? For one, this is the big news of the day, in my opinion. About a week ago, they put out an announcement saying that there was a bunch of bundles related to Beast Moon. And what do all these bundles have in common? They're all in the thousands of crowns. They're super expensive. And anything you can purchase for crowns that are related to Beast Moon right now save you a lot of time. Lunari, you could either put in hours of time in a Beast Moon, or you could just buy 2,000 crowns worth. Cheering up a Beast Moon form, you could either also do a lot of time for the Lunari and also add some gardening to it, or you could just pay 12,000 crowns and you have a super functioning form of a whole Beast Moon, you know, like creature. Now, this isn't really a video that's focused on Beast Moon, but I think Beast Moon is a very interesting side activity to look at because it is extremely free. Out of all of the side activities in Wizard101, in order to do Beast Moon, you have the lowest barrier of entry. But even someone starting off for the first time, they can try out these like level 1, tier 1 forms and actually get a feel for how the game works and learn things that they need to get better. And unlike something like PvP, you don't need pets, you don't need gear, you don't need pins, you don't need jewels. You don't even need to level up to do Beast Moon. And yet, something like that, where, you know, your progress in it is simply dictated by the time and effort you put into it, now has a way to pay crowns to progress in. I think in the short term, stuff like this is gonna make them a lot of money, but in the long term, what I think it does is it takes the reward away from players that put time into side activities like Beast Moon. Speaking of side activities, you might notice that I have a full set of raid gear on that I've stitched onto my wizard. And I think raids are another example of a very recent thing that they've done where, yes, you can put in a lot of effort, a lot of time into something like a raid, but somebody else can put in a lot less effort, a lot less time, and a lot more money to get the same outcome. They added second chance chests to these raids, and if you legitimately beat it and access a second chance chest right now, you'll notice something very crazy. These chests are not cheap. The first chest that you open for something like this is 800 crowns, and it keeps doubling and doubling over and over again. Raids have become another example of something you can put a lot of time into with other people, which I think is super healthy for the game. But if you have crowns, you have a very voluntary way to reduce the amount of time you spend with other people in the game. Yet another example, right? If you see like these Scroll of Fortunes in Wizard101, or if you do PvP, you might actually be able to apply this even in the Battle Pass. You might notice that you could earn points by doing something like PvP and unlocking reward after reward after reward. But what could also end up happening is you could advance and not do PvP whatsoever. You can click on the tier that you want to advance, and for honestly pretty cheap, you can get all the rewards of doing a side activity without doing the side activity. All three of the examples that I just brought up share one thing in common, and it's the fact that right now there's tons of side activities in this game that you could either do and spend a lot of time with other people to actually get good at, or you could pay for it, and you wouldn't have been able to pay to progress at it a year ago. Now, you guys might have noticed that, in my opinion, around a lot of these things or monetization practices, a lot of that is King's Owl, pop off. If it makes the game do better, I'm here for it because I want to play this game for many years to come. However, the nature of these changes that I think is really important to note is that they take away rewards from people that want to put in time and effort and get really good at side activities. I think it's a very bad idea to be able to pay completely to keep up with someone that puts in effort. I think time and effort should always win in the end, and there should be rewards that you can only get with time and effort that you can never actually pay for. I think adding a second chance chest to the raid, all it does is, what it does in my opinion is, it encourages people to wait for one person to beat the raid, not really care about the effort that they've put in, do exactly what they did, like, you know, recreate that exact strategy and then pay your way out of it so you never have to do it again. And it's the same with a lot of things like Beast Moon and even PvP, all these things that you can advance. And why bother adding all of these things if you're just going to add a way to completely skip them by paying enough money? It shouldn't be a full skip. And I think that's really stupid. It's frustrating to me as a player as I see all of these things that I've put a lot of work into, and now anyone under the sun can just pay their way through it. And I know I'm not the only one who feels this way, because a lot of people probably have purchased these items. I'm sure there's plenty of Beastman players that have bought the gold idols, that have, you know, bought the Lunari. I myself, I raided and hit the second chance chest multiple times. These tactics work, and yet all they're doing, in my opinion, in the long term, is damaging the effort that you can put in. Wizard101 needs to balance actually monetizing side activities with actually rewarding people that don't want to pay. Good on them for finding ways to make money from places other than membership. That's something we should all celebrate, especially if it means one day we'll see a membership-free Wizard101. But I think they've taken it a little too far, and as a player, I sometimes feel unrewarded for the time I put in. But to circle back to the original question, right? I think Wiz is definitely pay to progress. Is it pay to win? If you've been fully out of the loop, I would say the most recent example of pay to win gear was gear from this pack, the Burrower pack. There was gear and spellments from this pack that gave you a massive competitive advantage, and it wasn't available to farm, to get, to craft, anything like that. And I want to say that this lasted in the game for about 2 months. And in my opinion, that was represented one of the biggest steps backwards for Wizard101 in terms of not being pay to win. But now that those 2 months are over, I will like to add that it looks like they took that feedback kind of seriously. Now you can craft whatever Burrower gear you want, and honestly, you only need very, very, like, you know, minimal metals that anyone can actually have access to. The only difference between the Burrower gear that you get from a pack and the Burrower gear you can, you know, do PvP for is the fact that it says minus 100 mana. But if you're trying to get this gear for PvP, it's super, super accessible compared to even previous pack gear that you could craft for arena tickets. That's a huge step forward, and I hope that they do this immediately with the next pack that gives you a competitive advantage. Their pity systems for people that don't want to pay for gear is also, in my opinion, they're getting better. The raids have a really cool pity system where you can essentially guarantee drops after a few runs, and the new gold key boss for the Burrower gear is also probably the best pity system that they've ever put out. Even for the robes, which take the most spore caps, you can basically do like 3 runs and craft the Burrower robe of your choice whenever you want. And that's because doing 1 run of this gold key boss gives you like 5 spore caps to run. That's an amazing level of progress, right? Like, yeah, you can open up a pack, or you could wait, like, you know, a couple of months and you can do a gold key boss 3 times and get any piece of gear you want. It's way better than the pack. So while there are clear examples of instances where you can pay so much that it almost invalidates the time others put into the game, there's also clear examples of people that want to not pay having very clear and easier avenues to getting what they want. So finally, the convoluted ass answer from my standpoint to the question in the title and thumbnail is that I think there have been instances where Wiz has been more pay to win recently than before, and at least in those instances it seems like they've taken the problem seriously. But I don't think they're taking the pay to progress problem seriously enough. I think they've missed quite a lot recently in terms of balancing, you know, the health of the game with monetizing everything under the sun. I got this question a lot, especially when I was streaming, and I didn't know how to answer it live, so I thought I'd make a whole video breaking down all the things that I've noticed recently, all the things that they've done that are good and bad, and it's hard to answer with a simple yes or no, so this is the video that I did. Let me know if you guys agree with some of my frustrations, maybe some of my reasoning for why things are happening the way they are, and of course, as always, give feedback to KingsOwl, y'all. I'm sure they'll read the comment section. I'm sure I'll be reading the comments too. I look forward to reading y'all's comments. Drop a like if you enjoyed, leave a sub if you're new. I hope y'all enjoyed the nuanced discussion, and as always, stay awesome, y'all. See y'all soon, and yeah.